Okay, right. So today's lesson, we are working on JavaScript. So far you have built a web page using HTML, which is the content, the information to go into your website. And then you are using CSS to bring style into the website. So you want something to look pretty, for example. And now JavaScript to make more interactions. So if I quickly do this presentation with you, and then we're going to do some coding. So we're looking at JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is basically client-side scripting language. You have a user who browses the internet, who looks at a page within a script, and it sends out the output to the user. So the user is very important in who looks at a page, and that tries to understand how what the user sees, how they get engaged, and make use out of the page. Remember, JavaScript is not Java. Java is a complete set of code. So you want your page looking interactive. So a quick introduction to JavaScript. And what I'm going to do, let's watch this.
In this 3-minute introduction, I'm going to answer 4 frequently asked questions about JavaScript. What is JavaScript? What can you do with it? Where does JavaScript code run? And what is the difference between JavaScript and ECMAScript? So let's start with the first question. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is one of the most popular and widely used programming languages in the world right now. It's growing faster than any other programming languages, and big companies like Netflix, Walmart, and PayPal build entire applications around JavaScript. And here's the average salary of a JavaScript developer in the United States. That is $72,000 a year. So it's a great opportunity to get a good job out of learning JavaScript. You can work as a front-end developer or a back-end developer or a full-stack developer who knows both the front-end and the back-end. Now the second question, what can you do with JavaScript? For a long time, JavaScript was only used in browsers to build interactive web pages. Some developers refer to JavaScript as a toy language, but those days are gone because of huge community support and investments by large companies like Facebook and Google. These days, you can build full-blown web or mobile apps, as well as real-time networking applications like chats and video streaming services, command line tools, or even games. Here's an example. The third question, where does JavaScript code run? JavaScript was originally designed to run only in browsers. So every browser has what we call a JavaScript engine that can execute JavaScript code. For example, the JavaScript engines in Firefox and Chrome are SpiderMonkey and V8. In 2009, a very clever engineer called Ryan Dahl took the open source JavaScript engine in Chrome and embedded it inside a C++ program. He called that program Node. So Node is a C++ program that includes Google's V8 JavaScript engine. Now with this, we can run JavaScript code outside of a browser. So we can pass our JavaScript code to Node for execution. And this means with JavaScript, we can build the backend for our web and mobile applications. So in a nutshell, JavaScript code can be run inside of a browser or in Node. Browsers and Node provide a runtime environment for our JavaScript code. And finally, the last question. What is the difference between JavaScript and ECMAScript? Well, ECMAScript is just a specification. JavaScript is a programming language that conforms to this specification. So we have this organization called ECMA, which is responsible for defining standards. They take care of this ECMAScript specification. The first version of ECMAScript was released in 1997. Then, starting from 2015, ECMA has been working on annual releases of a new specification. So in 2015, they released ECMAScript 2015, which is also called ECMAScript version 6 or ES6 for short. This specification defined many new features for JavaScript. All right, enough theory. Let's see JavaScript in action.
So you need to understand ECMAScript. So I hope that's a good tutorial. And don't forget that after the holidays, some of you still need to do a presentation. I haven't forgotten, you will be graded if no one's ready. So start working on that too. Okay, so now you have got a description of JavaScript. Now we're going to do some writing. We're going to go into Google, actually, console log, and we're going to write different things. Google, I'll probably show you. Should I show you now? Yeah, why not? Okay, so here we go. So you go into Google, you just tap on a page, for example, right click, and you view page source. No, you don't. You inspect. There you go, inspect. Now you can see. I'm not always going to get it right. You go into console. This is where you can start writing code. So on the website, which has been shared with you, just copy and paste that into your console and run the code. Oh, and there was an error. But we can see why later. But console log is where you can write code and you can see it on your side, on the side as well. I'm going to make this video short, so I'm not going to look at any errors now. But you've got 2 + 2. So Google's console log. Let's change some information. Have a go at that. On your desktop, also create a folder called JavaScript and then start creating code. Here I've told you what to do. Open your Visual Code, drag and drop the folder into Visual Code. Very easy to do, because once you have a folder, you can just drag it and put it in here. You create your first file. Remember, index.html. You start your code. Remember, you type in an exclamation mark, and that autofills the beginning of your HTML code. Live server, is it installed? If not, get that installed. I'm happy to help you. Remember, in your Visual Code, you've got your extensions where you can download. Between the body tags and the script tags is where you're going to add the JavaScript. And then remember to add a semicolon at the end of each statement in JavaScript. That's what makes it different. There's 2 differences. One is that the code goes between the script tags, and the second one, there's a semicolon. Okay, the information between the brackets is called a string. And then let's start working. So I've given you different examples. You've got variables in here, which you can have a go and work in. You've got constants. And then you've got different types of value types. You've got dynamic typing. You've got reference types. You've got arrays, your list of objects. Okay, you've got a function that performs a task or calculates a value. You've got different types of functions. So a bit of reading you guys need to do, and probably have a go at doing those exercises. The following slides are now where you're going to understand why JavaScript can be put between the head or the body. So here is an example, index.html. You copy that in. Very simple. Now, this is your index. So although here on your index.html, you've got the code, you've got your paragraphs, you've got your headings, you notice that I haven't actually specified if they're bold or background color or anything. What I've done is I've created in the same folder a CSS file that explains the body, the main, heading 1, 2, my paragraphs. And then what I've said is I want to link it to a link called index.css, the style sheet. Okay, so that's what I've said here. Then when I run this, this is what comes up. Okay, because this is what I've classified. I mean, I don't need all of this, but I thought, why not? Just wanted to show you all of this. And you know what? This is there for you to mess around with. So I've given you the code, change things. Then you go in your index.html, and like I've said, you bring in the link. You can see the style sheet, and then you bring in the div called main. You end the div. So I'm still bringing in, and so I'm saying bring in everything in the style sheet and put it into my new website that has the content. Okay, now we go back and we create a second page called about.html. Here you can see again I'm using style sheets and div, but if you actually see my code, I haven't put any style sheets here because I wanted you to see. Let's come out of this. We don't want to see this anymore. This was the second page. There's a lot of stuff in there which I'm going to explain to you. So no style sheets here, just a simple white background, an image, some text, and a link that goes back to home. So now we put the JavaScript, and what I've done in the JavaScript, which is in here, I'm going to, this shouldn't actually be in here. I'm going to put it in here. Oh, but as you can see, I'm going to, I did them backwards, right? So here I've got 3 ways of writing your JavaScript. You can write it within the body, like I said, or within the head. This is inline scripting, so it's like CSS. We've called link to href, bring in index. But the difference now is here, you're saying script, source, bring in main JavaScript. So you're bringing in the source. Okay. There is my main.js. There is the alert. what happens is, and I don't know if you saw this, let's go back in here. When I go into this page, are you sure? Most never do their homework. Click OK. And then the page loads. Now I've got a main error coming up in my website, and that's because if I put this code into the heading, what it does is when the JavaScript or when the code is run, it reads a JavaScript first and then everything else is loaded. I'm bringing up an alert box. And what I've done here, I've put it in my body at the end where JavaScript should go. What happens, it loads up the page and your JavaScript comes up. But mine isn't working, and like I said, I'm not going to explain it in this video. So that was a main one. Another one, as you saw, was an on-click alert. So when I click, it takes me to my alert, my JavaScript. So I've said on click, do this. Okay, so as you can see, I go into home. I'm going to click on my link, and it's like, are you sure? Most of them never do their homework. And then that was on my second page. And then the third one is where you don't bring in at all your JavaScript here. What you will do is, so if I go back in here within the script, just put in the text. I just hope it works. So let's go back in home. Let's go back in here. Click OK. Now, can you see my page? It has not even loaded. Should have loaded, but this page comes up. Click OK. The other thing I wanted to share with you in index, so you can see this, you've got your double quote. Here you've got your double quotes, but the text now has to be in single quotes, otherwise it won't read the line, the script. So again, have a go at this. It's all at your expense. It's all on the slides. The exercises again here, different scripts, the different tags, working within the body, working within the head. And what I need you to remember is you are creating and updating your web page with as many HTML elements as possible, CSS, and now JavaScript. You will work with this, and then after we're back from Easter, I'm going to give you a short quiz to show your understanding of the 3 different languages. Make sure your Gantt chart is updated and your testing is updated. I will also be checking documents over the break. Remember, although you should have a break, make sure you're on target with the website development. A lot of you are not there yet. Right, remember, any questions or anything, email me, text me, I'm always available.